Have you ever noticed something small in your body and wondered if it might be a warning sign? If you're over 60 and starting to feel little changes, maybe a slight tremor in your hand or stiffness in your shoulder that doesn't quite go away, you're not alone. Many people chalk these things up to getting older. But what if they weren't just aging? What if they were signals? Real signs from your body about something more serious developing beneath the surface. Parkinson's disease, a progressive condition, affecting movement, balance, and even mood, often begins with subtle symptoms that are easy to ignore until it's too late. And here's the most important truth. By the time some people are officially diagnosed, the disease has already been silently progressing for years. Today, we're going to walk through the earliest physical signs your body gives you symptoms that researchers, neurologists, and even aging specialists now believe can quietly forecast Parkinson's long before it becomes obvious. We're not talking about rare or dramatic changes. We're talking about real, visible signs, some in your hands, your walk, your face, your digestion, even your voice, that you can watch out for right now. Now let's get started. Sign 1. Subtle hand tremors. One of the earliest signs that may quietly signal the onset of Parkinson's is a barely noticeable tremor in your hands. It might show up when you're holding your coffee cup, resting your hands in your lap, or even brushing your teeth. It's not dramatic. In fact, many people miss it at first because it seems harmless, like just a slight jitter or a moment of weakness. But here's the truth. If you're sitting relaxed and your finger or thumb starts to move on its own, like a soft tapping or rhythmic shake, that's not just a normal part of aging. That's your nervous system sending a quiet message. Tremors related to Parkinson's usually start on one side of the body and are most obvious when the hand is at rest. This is called a resting tremor. Unlike the shake you get from caffeine or anxiety, this kind of tremor shows up when you're not even trying to move, and it's persistent. Over time, it might spread to the other hand or to the legs, chin, or lips. But it often starts small, and early on, people shrugged it off. They say things like, "I guess I'm just tired," or, "It's probably nothing." Let me tell you about Howard, a 72-year-old retired school principal from Ohio. One day, while eating soup with his wife, he noticed the spoon slightly shaking in his right hand. He laughed and said, "Maybe I'm just getting old." But his wife noticed it kept happening. It wasn't until months later, when Howard struggled to button his shirt and noticed his handwriting had gotten smaller and shakier, that he finally went to his doctor. And sure enough, that early tremor had been his body's first whisper of Parkinson's. The takeaway here is simple. If you ever notice a light, repetitive tremor, especially when your hands are at rest, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. It doesn't always mean Parkinson's, but it is something your doctor should hear about. Because sometimes that one small sign is your chance to catch something big while it's still early. And in the journey of aging, early awareness is one of the best gifts you can give yourself. Sign 2. Slower walking speed. When we think of Parkinson's, we often imagine shaking hands or stiff arms. But one of the most common and overlooked early signs has nothing to do with your hands at all. It shows up in your legs, specifically the way you walk. A noticeable decrease in walking speed can be a quiet but powerful clue that something deeper is happening in the brain. If you used to stride confidently across a parking lot or climb the stairs with ease, but now you find yourself taking smaller Slower steps or even shuffling slightly, that's a red flag. Not necessarily a cause for panic, but a reason to pay attention, especially if that slower pace seems to come out of nowhere and doesn't improve with rest. Slowness of movement is what neurologists call bradykinesia. It's one of the core symptoms of Parkinson's, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The body's slowing down. People who experience this often feel like they're moving through water. Tasks that used to be second nature, like turning around or getting up from a chair, start to require extra thought and effort. The legs don't respond as quickly, the stride becomes shorter, and the pace just isn't the same. Let me tell you about a man named Samuel, 76, from Arizona. He was a proud walker. Every morning for nearly a decade, he'd stroll 2 miles through his neighborhood. But one day, he noticed it was taking him longer. He brushed it off. A few weeks later, he found himself stumbling slightly on curbs, needing longer breaks, and hesitating before crossing the street. His doctor ran some tests, and that's when they noticed a pattern. His steps had become smaller and his posture had started to stoop. It wasn't just fatigue. It was an early indicator of Parkinson's. The big takeaway: if you or someone you love seems to be slowing down, not from arthritis or injury, but from something harder to explain, it's worth a closer look. You may not notice it while sitting, but if your walking speed has changed, if your legs feel like they're lagging behind your thoughts, or if people have said, "Why are you walking like that?" take it seriously, because sometimes the way we walk tells a story about what's happening in our brain. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Sign 3. Loss of arm swing. One of the most surprising early signs of Parkinson's has nothing to do with pain, tremors, or even weakness. It's what your arms don't do. Most of us don't think twice about the way we walk. But if you've ever watched yourself or someone else walk across a room and notice that one arm barely moves, that's not just a quirk. It could be a signal. Healthy walking is a rhythm. The legs step forward and the arms swing naturally in opposition. Right leg, left arm, left leg, right arm. It's a built-in balance system. But when Parkinson's begins affecting the brain's movement control, that rhythm often gets interrupted. The brain forgets to swing one of the arms, or sometimes both. Now, here's what makes this so subtle. The person walking usually doesn't notice it at all. It's often a spouse, friend, or even a stranger who says, "Hey, did you hurt your shoulder?" Or, "Why are you walking so stiffly?" The truth is, the arm isn't injured. It's just not receiving the same movement signal it used to. The reason this matters so much is because it's one of the earliest motor signs doctors look for in Parkinson's evaluations. It usually shows up on one side of the body first, and it's not caused by joint damage or arthritis. It's neurological. It's the brain's way of showing that something is changing in the communication pathways, and once you start noticing it, it becomes clearer. A video clip, a reflection in a mirror, a moment walking past a store window. You see yourself stiff, with one arm still, and it doesn't feel like you. Take Margaret, 72, from South Carolina. She was always active, golfed twice a week, went on cruises, loved walking her dog. One afternoon, her daughter pointed out that her right arm didn't move when she walked. Margaret shrugged it off, thinking she was just tired. But weeks passed, and the stiffness didn't go away. Her right arm stayed close to her side like it had forgotten what to do. After seeing a neurologist, the early diagnosis came: Parkinson's, because her arm stopped swinging before the tremors ever began. What's powerful about noticing this early is that it gives you time to explore therapy, medication, or lifestyle changes, time to slow the progression, time to reclaim control. Many seniors think Parkinson's just shows up one day, but it doesn't. It whispers through small shifts, like the way your arm moves or doesn't move when you walk. So, if you catch yourself or someone you love with one arm hanging stiffly during walks, don't brush it off. It might not be Parkinson's, but it's worth asking a doctor, because in many cases, noticing these subtle changes early gives you the best chance of living well, strong, and independent for years to come. Sign for sudden softness in your voice. Most of us don't notice our own voice changing until someone else points it out. But in the early stages of Parkinson's disease, a subtle shift in the way you speak can be one of the clearest red flags. If you find yourself constantly being told, "Speak up," or if your friends say you sound distant or hard to hear on the phone, it might not just be a sore throat or fatigue. It could be something deeper. Parkinson's doesn't just affect your arms and legs. It affects the way your brain sends signals to muscles, including the ones that control your vocal cords. As those muscles weaken or respond more slowly, your voice can become quieter, more breathy, or lose the emotional tone that once made your speech sound lively. In fact, some people describe it as their voice sounding flat or tired, even when they feel alert inside. And this change doesn't always happen overnight. It can be gradual. One day, you're chatting away like always. A few weeks later, you're being asked to repeat yourself more often. Your sentences might trail off mid-thought, or your tone becomes monotone without you even realizing it. Others might think you're bored, sad, or disinterested, when in reality, you're just struggling to project your voice like you used to. And here's what makes this symptom especially tricky. People often assume it's just aging. "Oh, I'm just getting older," they say. But not all seniors lose vocal strength. When the change is noticeable and persistent, especially when paired with other signs like reduced facial expression or stiffness, it may be an early sign of Parkinson's. Consider Thomas, 74, from Minnesota. He was known for his booming laugh and storytelling voice. But his wife began to notice he was speaking more softly at the dinner table. He kept having to clear his throat, and even his grandkids started asking why Grandpa sounded mumbly. After some persuasion, Thomas visited a neurologist. The diagnosis came shortly after, early-stage Parkinson's. Looking back, he realized the voice change had started nearly a year before anyone connected the dots. The good news is this symptom can be treated. Speech therapy, vocal exercises, and certain Parkinson's medications can help improve vocal strength and clarity. But the key is early recognition. The earlier it's caught, the better the chances of maintaining strong, confident speech and staying connected to the people you care about. If you or someone close to you is quietly struggling to be heard, or feels like their voice is no longer their own, don't ignore it. Speak with a doctor. Sometimes, it's not just your voice getting softer. It's your body trying to tell you something important. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you now. Let's move forward. Sign 5. Shrinking handwriting. When was the last time you really looked at your own handwriting? For most of us, it's a deeply personal and familiar part of who we are, but for many people in the earliest stages of Parkinson's disease, something strange happens. Their handwriting starts to get smaller, not just slightly smaller, but noticeably cramped, tight, and even hard to read. Sometimes to the point that letters seem to crowd each other like they're stuck in a traffic jam. This symptom has a name, and it's one of the clearest physical markers neurologists look for when evaluating possible Parkinson's. At first, it may seem harmless. You might write out your grocery list or sign a birthday card and notice that your letters don't just look small. They start large and then get smaller and smaller as the sentence goes on. But the real concern lies not in the handwriting itself, but in what it reflects: a disruption in the fine motor control signals between the brain and your hand. You see, Parkinson's affects more than just big movements like walking or turning. It often shows up first in small, precise actions, like buttoning a shirt, brushing your teeth, or, yes, writing. The reason handwriting changes is that Parkinson's begins to interfere with your brain's ability to initiate and sustain smooth, coordinated motion. Your hand muscles may still be strong, but the instructions they're getting from your brain are jumbled, delayed, or inconsistent. That makes writing more laborious and less fluid, causing each letter to cramp tighter than the last dot. Take Beverly, for example. She's 76, lives in Oregon, and loves writing letters to her friends. But over time, she noticed her penmanship looked different. She was pressing harder, but the letters kept getting smaller, and she felt more fatigued after just a few lines. Her daughter pointed it out one afternoon, saying, "Mom, are you writing in code?" That joke led to a doctor's appointment, and sure enough, early-stage Parkinson's was discovered. Beverly now credits that one moment with giving her a head start on treatment and a better quality of life. What's important to understand is this: micrographia doesn't mean you're doomed, but it is a sign that something deeper may be going on. If you've noticed your handwriting changing dramatically, don't brush it off as just getting older. Instead, see it as your body's way of tapping you on the shoulder, asking you to pay attention. Because early awareness gives you options. Options that people who ignore the signs don't always have, whether you've been journaling for decades or just writing out the occasional note. Your handwriting has a story to tell. The question is, are you listening? Sin 6. Trouble with facial expression. Something strange starts to happen when your face stops reflecting how you feel. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, "Why do I look so blank?" Even though you felt fine on the inside. Or maybe someone told you that you looked upset or tired, even though you were just relaxed. For many older adults, this is brushed off as just looking tired or aging. But in reality, it can be one of the most visible early signs of Parkinson's disease, and one of the most misunderstood. Doctors call it facial masking. It means your facial muscles begin to lose their natural movement. Smiles become weaker. Eyebrows stay still, even when you're surprised or curious. Your eyes might not blink as often, making your stare seem fixed. And the subtle shifts in your face that once showed interest, empathy, joy, or humor, they start to fade. To those around you, it may look like you've become emotionally distant, but inside, you're still the same person. It's your nervous system that's struggling to express it. What's happening under the surface is that Parkinson's slowly affects the muscles of the face, especially the ones that respond to emotional cues, unlike a stroke, which might paralyze one side of the face. Facial masking tends to affect both sides equally, creating a flat, neutral expression that doesn't change much. You're not sad, you're not angry, but to others you may look like you are, and this disconnect can be deeply frustrating, not just physically, but emotionally and socially as well. Think about how much of our connection with others depends on facial expression, a simple smile to greet your neighbor, a raised eyebrow when something surprises you, a knowing look shared with your spouse after a joke. These small signals are how we show we care, that we're listening, that we're alive. When facial masking sets in, those signals start to disappear, and it can leave people feeling isolated, even when surrounded by friends or family. I once spoke with a man named Harold, who's 82 and lives in upstate New York. He told me he didn't even notice his face had changed until his granddaughter asked him why he looked so serious all the time. That question stuck with him. He felt fine. He still cracked jokes and loved playing cards with his buddies. But when he saw a video of himself at his birthday party, he was stunned. He looked almost frozen. That's what finally pushed him to see a neurologist. Sure enough, Parkinson's was at play. The key here is awareness. Facial masking can sneak up on you, and because it happens slowly, you might not recognize it in yourself, but others often do. So if someone close to you says you look expressionless or different, try not to dismiss it. Instead, take it as a gentle nudge to look deeper. You might be surprised at what your face is trying to tell you. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you.